Hi, math lovers. Welcome to notes number 38. We're on lesson 2.1 of our brand new chapter, chapter 2, linear equations in two variables. We're going to review today the equations for a line. So all of this is review from your Algebra 1. We have lots of formulas today. We had y equals mx plus b. That's a formula used all the time when you're Algebra 1 class. Well, that's called slope-intercept. Slope-intercept. And you're going to use that when you have the slope and when you have the intercept. Remember, m is your slope. And we get that from the Cartesian coordinate system. Remember, Descartes was French. So the French verb to climb, monter, starts with the letter m. And b is the y-intercept. I don't have a little story for that one. We had our standard form, which was ax plus by equals c. That's called standard form. And remember, in that format, your slope is equal to the opposite of a over b. And usually in standard form, you have a as a positive integer, and b is can be anything you want, just an integer. Then we had the formula for slope between 2 points. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, x1 and y1, x2 and y2 are standing through 2 points, so this would be the slope through 2 points. Okay, and then the final one, the last one, my favorite one, is called point slope. So you're going to use this one when you have a point and the slope, x minus x1. Okay, so this is called point slope. And you're going to substitute in m, and you're going to substitute from x sub 1 and y sub 1. The x and the y would stay in your equation because that's what you would give you your equation of the line. So 4 big equations for you to make sure you understand. Remember, let's talk a little bit about slope, okay? So slope, if I have a line that's going to go up to this direction, we would say that this has a positive slope, because I'm rising over running. I'm rising a positive, I'm running a negative, or excuse me, I'm rising a positive, I'm running a positive, I'm rising, I'm running. If I go the other direction, this way, this is going to have a negative slope. So to go from this point to this point on the line, I'm going to drop down and move to the right. So this would be a negative, and then to the right would be positive. So that's a negative slope. If I have a line that is horizontal, okay? So I'm standing here and you're standing there and I need to get to you. What is my movement? Well, I'm not rising at all. So I would say here I have a 0 slope. All right, so I'm not rising at all, but I'm just running. So it would be like up 0 and over 5. Okay, that would be 0 slope. And that equation is going to look like y equals some number. That's not a hashtag. That is a number sign. And then you could also have a vertical line, okay? And this would be a line that has no slope. So if you're standing here and I'm standing here and I need to get from one point to another, I would rise, but I would not run. So I would have up 5 and to the right 0. 5 over 0 doesn't exist, so we wouldn't have that. And the equation of that line would look like x equals some number. Now, a couple things to remember. I always learned that to remember these, a 0 slope makes the letter z, okay? And no slope makes the letter n with the axes. Now, obviously, that's not why they're vertical and horizontal and have 0 slope and no slope. It's just a way to remember it. And I remember when I was learning, a teacher said to me, think about the axis that gets intersected. So here's my x, here's my y-axis. This line is going to go through the x-axis, so I have an x in my equation. Over here, this line is going to go through the y-axis, so I have a y in my equation. Notice I don't have an x in the equation. Notice I don't have a y in the equation. Over here, where I have my positive slope, I would have both an x and a y in my equation, okay? The last thing I want to tell you about is slopes. I want to remind you that if you have parallel lines, that they're going to have the exact same tilt. Parallel lines will have the same slope. You remember that from your geometry class. Parallel lines have the same exact slope. And perpendicular lines, remember, will have opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay? So just refreshing your memory on all of the formulas that you learned in Algebra 1 for slopes of lines and equations of lines. Have fun with the problem set.